Listen to me, because this might be the prayer that turns your entire destiny around. There comes a moment in every believer's life when you stop running, stop doubting, stop questioning, and you lift your hands and say, Lord, I am ready. Take me where you want me to go. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when life gets easier, right now. Today, this moment, because your miracle is never waiting on God. Your miracle is waiting on your readiness. You see, there are blessings that are already prepared for you, stored, sealed, preserved, waiting for the day you finally say, Father, I am ready. Guide me into the miracles you already designed for my life. This is the prayer that unlocks heaven. This is the posture that aligns you with your assignment. This is the declaration that shifts your atmosphere. God is not moved by panic. God is not moved by fear. God is not moved by complaining, but God is moved by readiness. God responds to alignment. God accelerates those who are prepared. And when you pray this prayer every day, Lord, I am ready. Please take me to my miracles and overflowing blessings. You are telling heaven, I'm done living below my calling. I'm done playing small. I'm done holding back. I'm done shrinking to fit into rooms you never assigned me to. You are telling God, use me, stretch me, position me, elevate me, lead me. Because hear this carefully, God never sends miracles to people who are hiding. He sends miracles to people who are ready. The woman with the issue of blood was ready, so she touched the hem. Blind Bartimaeus was ready, so he shouted louder. Elijah was ready, so he confronted the drought. David was ready, so he ran toward Goliath. Readiness always precedes breakthrough. And today God is asking you one question. Are you ready for the miracle you're asking me for? Are you ready for the blessings you keep praying about? Are you ready for the life you keep imagining? Are you ready for the opportunities you've been begging heaven to release? Because God is not trying to withhold blessings. God is trying to prepare you for them. He's waiting for your posture. He's waiting for your surrender. He's waiting for your courage. He's waiting for your yes. And this prayer, Lord, I am ready. Please take me to my miracles and overflowing blessings, is a spiritual activation, a divine signal, a heavenly notification that says, Father, I'm done delaying myself. I'm done doubting myself. I'm done walking in fear. I am ready, ready for change, ready for healing, ready for financial flow, ready for restoration, ready for grace, ready for abundance, ready for purpose, ready for favor, ready for overflow. Because listen, readiness is the seed for release. Preparation is the birthplace of manifestation. When you tell God you're ready, heaven starts moving. People begin to appear. Opportunities begin to align. Resources begin to flow. Strength begins to rise. Peace begins to settle. Power begins to activate. And miracles begin to chase you instead of you chasing them. This prayer isn't just words. It's a spiritual position. It's a kingdom mentality. It's a declaration of maturity. It's the moment you stop asking God to bless what you want, and you ask God to take you to what He prepared. And what He prepared is always bigger, always better, always overflowing. So stop praying small prayers. Stop living with limited expectations. Stop shrinking your life to match your fears. Stand boldly in the presence of God and declare, Lord, I am ready. Take me to my miracles and overflowing blessings. And when you pray this daily, get ready for this. Now your mindset will shift. Your spiritual hunger will deepen. Now your environment will change. Where the wrong people will fall away. Where the right people will appear. Where the impossible will start becoming normal. Blessings will become your lifestyle. Breakthroughs will become your rhythm. And miracles will become your testimony. Because you prayed the prayer of alignment, the prayer of surrender, the prayer of readiness. And heaven always responds to readiness. Readiness determines what heaven can release. Readiness is not an emotional feeling. It is a spiritual posture. It is the moment when your life, your mind, your habits, and your character rise to a level where heaven can finally trust you with what you have been praying for. Most people think God is delaying their blessing. But in reality, God is waiting for their readiness. He is waiting for the moment when your capacity matches your request, when your discipline matches your desire, when your character matches your calling. Heaven is not moved by desperate pleading. Heaven is moved by prepared vessels. God does not send rain where there is no container to hold it. He does not release opportunity where there is no readiness to manage it. In daily life, you have seen this truth again and again. The promotion never comes until you show the character that can handle the position. The breakthrough never appears until you start acting like the person who can sustain it. The door never opens until you become someone who can walk through it without sabotaging what's on the other side. Imagine a student who keeps praying, "Lord, help me pass the final exam," but never opens the textbook. Heaven cannot release success to a mind that is not prepared for it. Not because God is cruel, but because blessing without readiness becomes a burden. Or picture someone who prays every night for financial blessings, but never learns discipline, budgeting, or stewardship. If God answered the prayer instantly, the blessing would slip through their fingers the same way sand falls through an open hand. Readiness is not just wanting something. It is becoming someone who can hold it. Think of the person who begs God for a God-ordained marriage, for a healthy, loving partner, yet they have not healed from the wounds of the past. They have not learned forgiveness, patience, or emotional maturity. God is not withholding love. He is protecting the future from being destroyed by unhealed places. Heaven waits for readiness because readiness ensures longevity. The miracle is not just about receiving, it's about sustaining. And sustaining requires transformation. Look at the story of Joseph. His dream came at 17, but his readiness came years later. The throne was prepared for him long before he ever sat on it. Heaven did not delay the dream. Heaven developed the dreamer. Because heaven never releases power into the hands of someone who still thinks small. You don't give car keys to a child. You wait until their maturity aligns with their desire. In the same way, heaven does not give destiny to someone who is still living according to their fears, their excuses, and their yesterday mindset. God will give you the dream the moment you are ready to manage the weight of it. And you know this from your own life. You prayed for opportunities that never came at the time you expected. But when you look back, you realize something powerful: you weren't ready then. If that door had opened earlier, it would have crushed you. If that relationship had come earlier, it would have wounded you. If that increase had arrived earlier, your character would not have been strong enough to carry it. Readiness is divine protection. It is God taking you through preparation so that when the blessing comes, it stays. Every athlete knows this truth. You don't win the race by praying for the finish line. You win the race by preparing before you ever step foot on the track. You don't pray for strength, you build it. You don't pray for endurance, you train for it. You don't pray for victory, you position yourself for it. Heaven works the same way. God doesn't just want to give you blessings. He wants to give you the ability to hold blessings without breaking. Daily life reveals another truth: readiness attracts opportunity. Employers promote employees who show initiative before being asked. Business owners succeed when they prepare for customers before they arrive. Students succeed when they study before the exam date is announced. Heaven follows the same principle. Miracles do not come to people who wait passively. They come to people who position themselves intentionally. When you rise early and pray, when you discipline your habits, when you align your behavior with your destiny, you are telling heaven, "I am ready for what I prayed for." That readiness sends a signal through the spiritual atmosphere. It announces to heaven and earth that you are no longer waiting, you are preparing. And here is something powerful: readiness requires sacrifice. It means letting go of old mindsets, old excuses, old patterns, and old limitations. It means stepping out of comfort zones and into growth zones. It means saying, "God, shape me into someone who can handle the miracle I'm praying for." It means doing the work nobody sees so God can reward you publicly. People often want the stage but not the preparation. They want the blessing, but not the responsibility. They want the spotlight, but not the discipline. But heaven will not release greatness to those who are unwilling to grow into it. Think about this: a seed is ready to become a tree the moment it is planted, but if the soil is not prepared, the seed will die. Heaven wants to plant blessings in your life, but God will prepare the soil of your character first. He will remove pride, fear, laziness, doubt, and insecurity. He will break the ground so the seed can live. That breaking phase is not punishment. It is preparation. It is God making you ready. Your readiness tells heaven that miracles won't be wasted on you. It says, I won't mismanage this blessing. I won't destroy this opportunity. I won't take this breakthrough for granted. And when God sees that posture, that maturity, that hunger, He releases what has been waiting for you all along. Heaven responds to readiness. Heaven honors preparation. Heaven accelerates those who are positioned. Because when you are ready, there is nothing in the spiritual or natural realm that can stop what God has ordained for your life. Preparation is the seed for manifestation. Preparation is the seed for manifestation, because nothing in life grows where there is no groundwork. Everything God brings into existence follows a pattern, a process, a preparation. Before a seed becomes a tree, the soil must be broken, softened, aligned, and made ready. Before a house is built, the foundation must be laid. Before a plane takes off, every system is checked, every part is inspected, every detail is prepared. And before God releases the blessing you are praying for, He prepares you to sustain it. Not because He doubts you, but because He protects what He gives. Blessings are never accidental. They are intentional responses to preparation. You can see this everywhere in daily life. A student doesn't magically become a doctor by wishing. They go through years of training, hours of study, countless tests, uncomfortable challenges, and long nights of learning things others will never see. That's preparation. And when they step into a hospital room and save a life, that moment is manifestation. The miracle wasn't in the room. It was in the preparation that got them there. In the same way, God prepares you through seasons where nobody applauds, nobody notices, and nobody celebrates you. You start thinking, God, when is my blessing coming? But heaven is saying, your blessing is already here. You are the one I am preparing. Think of a woman who prays, God, give me a business. But she never learns how to manage money, communicate with people, or show up with consistency. If God gives her the business before she learns stewardship, the same blessing she prayed for will collapse under her. Not because God didn't give, but because she didn't prepare. Preparation is heaven's insurance policy. It ensures that what you receive will not destroy you, overwhelm you, or slip through your fingers. God will never give you something that your character cannot carry. A blessing given too early becomes a burden. A blessing given at the right time becomes a breakthrough. Daily life gives us another example: athletes preparing for a race. You can't pray your way into muscles without training. You cannot ask God to give you Olympic endurance without putting in the work. Imagine an athlete showing up at the starting line unprepared, expecting to win because they prayed hard. No, they win because they trained hard, disciplined themselves, sacrificed pleasure for purpose, and aligned their body for the assignment. The manifestation of their victory happens in the stadium, but the victory itself was formed in the lonely places where nobody was watching. That is what spiritual preparation looks like. It's the unseen work that produces seen results. A person says, God bless me financially, but keeps the same spending habits that keep them broke. God won't bless a mindset that has no plan to steward abundance. If you want God to trust you with more, you must prepare space for more. A cluttered room cannot receive new furniture. A cluttered mind cannot receive new ideas. A cluttered spirit cannot receive divine instruction. Preparation is not always glamorous. Sometimes it means letting go of what you love so God can give you what you need. Sometimes it requires pruning friendships, rearranging priorities, breaking comfort zones, and stepping into unfamiliar growth. Preparation demands sacrifice, but manifestation demands preparation. Think of the farmer who wakes up early, plows the ground, removes the stones, clears the weeds, and plants the seed with intention. His neighbors may pass by and mock him. They may say, "You're working too hard for something you can't even see." But the farmer is wise. He knows that manifestation always follows preparation. So he prepares even when there is no sign of growth. He waters when there is no sprout. He protects the ground when there is no fruit. Why? Because the harvest is not a miracle of chance. It is a miracle of preparation. When harvest season comes, the same people who mocked him come asking, "How did you get so much?" And the farmer replies, "I prepared when you were sleeping." That is how heaven works. God sees what you prepare for. God rewards what you make room for. God manifests what you align yourself with. If you prepare for healing, he releases healing. If you prepare for abundance, he releases provision. If you prepare for purpose, he reveals direction. If you prepare for elevation, he opens doors. Blessings are attracted to preparation the way seeds are attracted to good soil. Look at your own life. Every season that took you to a higher level demanded preparation. The job you have now required preparation. The relationships you value required emotional preparation. The breakthroughs you experienced required spiritual preparation. Even the battles you survived prepared you for greater victories. Sometimes preparation feels like resistance, like pressure, like delay, but it is actually God molding you for the manifestation you asked for. Preparation is divine positioning. When you prepare, you are telling heaven, "Father, I am not just wishing. I am readying myself." You are telling God that you are serious about what you're praying for. Preparation is faith in motion. It is the proof that you expect God to move. Because when you truly believe that manifestation is coming, you start preparing the room for it. You clean the space. You make room in your heart. You adjust your habits. You rise earlier. You think bigger. You speak differently. You walk differently. Preparation creates alignment, and alignment creates manifestation. The reason many never see what they pray for is simple: they never prepare for what they pray for. They ask God for rain, but walk outside without a bucket. They ask God for opportunity, but refuse to build the skills to sustain it. They ask God for growth, but fight the very process that creates growth. Because preparation demands discipline, vision, patience, and faith, qualities God develops before he releases miracles. And here is the truth: when you prepare, you activate heaven's schedule. Preparation speeds up manifestation. The moment your readiness aligns with your request, God releases what was already written with your name on it. Your prayer must match your assignment. Your prayer must match your assignment. Because heaven does not respond to empty words. Heaven responds to alignment. Many people pray for things that do not match the purpose God placed inside them, and then they wonder why nothing changes. Prayer is not about convincing God to do what you want. Prayer is about positioning yourself to do what created you to do. When your prayer aligns with your divine assignment, power is released, clarity increases, and doors begin to open in ways you could never engineer by yourself. Prayer is not a wish list. It is a declaration of alignment. It is the moment you say, "God, I want what you want for me." That kind of prayer carries weight. That kind of prayer shifts atmospheres. That kind of prayer accelerates destiny. Imagine a person who prays, "God, make me great," but avoids every opportunity to grow, learn, or serve. That prayer does not match their assignment. Greatness requires responsibility. It requires character. It requires humility. Heaven cannot release greatness to someone who refuses to walk in the discipline that greatness demands. Or think of someone who prays, "Lord, send me a miracle," but continues to surround themselves with negativity, fear, and self-doubt. Their environment contradicts their prayer. Their mindset conflicts with what they are asking God to release. A prayer that does not match your habits, your character, or your actions becomes noise instead of instruction. Heaven responds to agreement, not contradiction. Look at daily life. A person who wants to be a musician does not pray for talent and then ignore practice. They pray and then they train. They align their prayer with their assignment. Their actions match their request. They don't pray for skill while avoiding the work that builds skill. If someone says, God, use me, their prayer must align with the willingness to step into places where God wants to use them. You cannot pray for influence and hide from responsibility. You cannot pray for leadership and avoid the pressure leadership brings. This is why so many people feel frustrated in their prayer life. They are praying for things that do not match the assignment God wired into their soul. Think of the young person who says, God, open doors for my future, but never prepares themselves, never studies, never develops discipline. They are hoping God will bless effort they never gave. God is not a magician. He is a strategist. He blesses where there is alignment. He multiplies where there is purpose. He opens doors where there is readiness. When your prayer matches your assignment, it activates divine timing, not because God wasn't listening before, but because now your vision and his purpose are walking in the same direction. Imagine you are on a path and God has a specific lane prepared for you. Every time you pray outside of your assignment, you step into a different lane. And heaven pauses because God's blessing is tied to the lane he designed for you. The moment you pray according to your purpose, Lord, shape me for what you made me for. You step back into alignment and everything begins to move again. That is what Dr. Myles Munroe meant when he said that the greatest tragedy is not death, but life without purpose. When you don't know your assignment, you pray blindly. But when you know your assignment, your prayer becomes targeted, powerful, and effective. Look at a gardener. He doesn't pray for tomatoes and then plant apple seeds. He doesn't pray for a harvest and then neglect the soil. His actions match his expectation. His preparation matches his assignment. He plants what he wants to harvest. But many people pray for joy while planting bitterness. They pray for abundance while planting laziness. They pray for peace while planting negativity. Heaven cannot violate the law of sowing and reaping. Your life produces what you plant, not what you prefer. And your prayer becomes powerful when it aligns with what God assigned you to produce. Think about relationships. A person prays, Lord, bring someone who loves me. But they haven't healed their heart. They haven't forgiven their past. They haven't become emotionally whole. Their prayer does not match their assignment. God wants to give them love, but the unhealed heart cannot hold it. So he waits, not because he refuses, but because he protects. The moment that person begins praying, God, make me whole enough to carry the love you are bringing, everything changes. Their prayer now matches their assignment. Heaven releases what was waiting on them. Ask yourself when you pray, are you praying for what you want or what you were created for? The two are not always the same. Sometimes what you want is smaller than what God assigned you. Sometimes your prayer reveals your fear, not your future. Sometimes you pray like a survivor when God wants you to pray like a son, like a daughter, like a kingdom citizen with authority. Prayer is supposed to elevate your mindset, not shrink it. Prayer is supposed to awaken your purpose, not distract you from it. When your prayer matches your assignment, you stop asking God to bless your plans and you start asking him to bless his plans through you. Take the example of someone who prays for financial increase. If their assignment is to build, lead, and uplift others, heaven will release resources when their prayer becomes, God, increase me so I can increase others. That prayer matches their assignment. That prayer carries kingdom purpose. Heaven trusts that kind of prayer because it serves something bigger than personal comfort. God always funds purpose. God always backs assignment. God always empowers calling. And your prayer becomes unstoppable when it is tied to what heaven is already trying to accomplish through your life. Look at the life of Jesus. Every prayer he prayed matched his assignment. He never prayed outside of purpose. He never prayed for comfort. He prayed for strength. He never prayed for escape. He prayed for endurance. He never prayed for avoidance. He prayed for alignment. His prayers carried power because they matched his mission. And that is the key when your prayer matches your assignment. You tap into divine momentum. You no longer chase blessings, blessings chase you. You no longer force doors. Doors open before you. You no longer feel lost. Purpose becomes your compass. Overflow is a result of obedience. Not luck. Overflow is a result of obedience, not luck, because in the kingdom of God, nothing happens by accident. Nothing flows randomly. Nothing increases without alignment. God does not pour abundance into a life that is out of order, out of position, or out of obedience. Overflow is not something you stumble into. It is something you grow into. It is the consequence of living in harmony with God's principles, God's voice, and God's direction. Many people look at others who are walking in blessing and assume they got lucky. But heaven does not operate on luck. Heaven operates on law. Luck is unpredictable, unstable, temporary. Kingdom overflow is predictable, intentional, and sustained because it is built on obedience. Look at daily life. A person can wish for financial stability every day, but if they never obey the principles of budgeting, stewardship, and discipline, money will always slip through their hands. They don't need luck. They need obedience to the principles that create abundance. A gardener can pray for a harvest, but if he never plants seed, waters the soil, and removes the weeds, no amount of luck will make fruit appear. Fruits come from obedience to the laws of sowing, not from wishing. In the same way, overflow comes from obeying the instructions God already gave you. The blessings you are praying for are waiting on the obedience you have been delaying. Think about a person who wants physical fitness. They can hope, pray, desire, and dream. But if they do not obey the simple principle of consistency, moving their body, fueling it correctly, resting it properly, nothing will change. Some people pray for transformation, but refuse to obey the process that produces it. They want the miracle, but avoid the instruction. They want the blessing, but ignore the principle. They want the overflow, but resist the obedience. But hear this: God will never bless what you refuse to align with his principles. Blessing flows where obedience lives. In Scripture, every overflow moment came after obedience. The widow poured oil into empty vessels and watched multiplication happen the moment she obeyed the prophet's instruction. Peter cast his net on the other side of the boat, something that made no logical sense to a fisherman, but the overflow of fish came only after he obeyed the instruction. Naaman dipped in the river 7 times, not 6, not 5, because obedience unlocks completion, and completion unlocks breakthrough. Even Jesus performed his first miracle after his mother said something powerful: whatever he tells you to do, do it. That has always been the formula for overflow. Daily life reveals the same truth. Someone wants a promotion at work, but they never obey the principles of excellence, consistency, and integrity. They want recognition without responsibility. They want elevation without faithfulness. But overflow is a reward for obedience. Employers promote those who have been faithful, not those who have been lucky. Business owners thrive when they obey the laws of persistence, service, creativity, and value, not when they depend on chance. Students excel when they obey the principles of discipline and focus, not when they rely on luck before an exam. Everywhere you look, obedience is the engine behind increase. Imagine you pray, "God bless my relationships," but you refuse to obey the principle of forgiveness, humility, communication, and patience. You cannot receive the blessings of unity while walking in the habits of disunity. Overflow in relationships comes from obeying principles that build trust, not from hoping things magically improve. Or consider a person who says, "God, make me stronger spiritually," but avoids prayer, avoids reading the word, avoids fellowship, avoids correction. Strength comes from obeying the spiritual disciplines that produce it. You cannot inherit the fruit of obedience while living the lifestyle of avoidance. Obedience is not always easy. Sometimes God asks you to do things that stretch you, challenge you, and pull you out of comfort. Sometimes obedience means letting go of people, habits, or environments you grew attached to. Sometimes obedience means stepping into unfamiliar territory, trusting a voice you cannot see. Sometimes obedience means walking away from opportunities that look good but are not God. And yet every act of obedience becomes a seed that produces overflow in its season. God never asks you for obedience to limit you. He asks for obedience to position you. Look at the everyday example of traffic rules. You don't get to your destination faster by ignoring the signs. You get there by following them. Ignoring the sign may feel faster for a moment, but eventually it leads to an accident, a fine, or a delay. Obedience to the signs guarantees arrival. In the same way, obedience to God's voice guarantees destiny. Disobedience may feel like freedom in the moment, but it always leads to frustration. Obedience may feel restrictive in the moment, but it always leads to overflow, because obedience aligns you with the divine path already carved out for you. Think of someone who opens a shop and prays, "Lord, send customers," but they refuse to obey the principles of excellence, honesty, service, quality, and consistency. Without obedience, the prayer becomes empty words. God will not bless sloppy work. God does not reward laziness. God does not favor inconsistency. Overflow comes to those who honor their assignment with excellence. When you obey the principle of quality, customers return. When you obey the principle of integrity, trust is built. When you obey the principle of diligence, increase becomes natural. And consider this obedience is often tested in small things before it is rewarded in big things. God watches how you handle the little instruction before he hands you the big assignment. You cannot pray for millions if you are not obedient with the few hundred you already have. You cannot pray for influence if you are not obedient with the impact you already carry. You cannot pray for a global calling while disobeying local stewardship. Overflow is the fruit of long-term obedience. Obedience is also the language of trust. When you obey God, you are saying, "Father, I trust your wisdom more than my feelings. I trust your plan more than my fears. I trust your timing more than my impatience." And heaven responds to trust. When you trust God enough to obey him, even when it makes no sense, he opens doors you never knew existed. He moves mountains you thought were permanent. He arranges divine connections you could not manufacture. He pours overflow into your life because you have proven that you can carry it without losing yourself. Overflow is not magic. Overflow is not random. Overflow is not luck. Overflow is the result of aligning your life with God's principles until blessings no longer visit. They live with you. Listen to me. Everything you have heard, everything that stirred your spirit, everything that awakened something deep inside you. This is not emotion. This is not coincidence. This is not inspiration that fades when the video ends. This is alignment. This is invitation. This is heaven knocking on the door of your readiness, your purpose, your obedience, your assignment. This is the moment your spirit decides what kind of future you are walking into. Because you were not born to live average. You were not created to live empty. You were not designed to merely survive. You were crafted by God's own hands to walk in miracles, to live in blessing, to overflow in purpose, and to become a living testimony of what happens when a person finally says, "Lord, I am ready." This is your turning point. The chapter where you stop wishing and start walking. The season where you stop begging and start believing. The moment where you stop asking God to move and allow him to move through you. Because heaven does not respond to fear-filled prayers, but it always responds to faith-filled decisions. And today is a decision moment. You are deciding to rise. You are deciding to shift. You are deciding to break the cycle of delay, the cycle of doubt, the cycle of small thinking, and the cycle of living beneath your calling. You are choosing to step into the version of yourself God always knew you could become. You might have walked through storms, but you didn't drown. You might have carried heavy seasons, but they didn't crush you. You might have faced closed doors, but they didn't define you. You might have lost some things, but you never lost God. And if you still have breath in your lungs, it means God still has purpose in your story. It means the blessing hasn't passed you. It means the miracle hasn't skipped you. It means the overflow hasn't forgotten you. It means heaven has been preparing a table for you in the presence of every doubt, every fear, every enemy, and every delay. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the life God always intended for you. So make this declaration with your whole soul. I am ready. I am done hiding. I am done shrinking. I am done doubting. I am done stepping backward. I am stepping forward into destiny, into purpose, into abundance, into miracles, into overflow. Speak it until the atmosphere around you shifts. Speak it until your mind believes it. Speak it until your spirit feels the fire again. Speak it until every chain hears you and breaks. Speak it until heaven sees your readiness and opens what has been waiting. Because when you stand in obedience, heaven stands with you. When you walk in purpose, the path opens beneath your feet. When you align your prayer with your assignment, doors begin to swing open that you weren't even knocking on. When you move with boldness, God moves with power. This is how miracles happen, when your faith and His plan collide. This is how overflow begins, when your obedience and His timing align. And hear this deeply: you are not too late, you are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not disqualified, you are not empty, you are not broken beyond repair. You are right on time for what God is about to do. Nothing in your story was wasted. Nothing in your journey was random. Every tear became a seed. Every setback became a setup. Every struggle became training for strength. Every delay became preparation for destiny. You are standing at the doorway of transformation. This is your moment to step boldly into everything God has prepared. Not timidly, not cautiously, not fearfully, but boldly, confidently, courageously. Heaven is waiting for your heirs. Miracles are waiting for your obedience. Overflow is waiting for your readiness. Blessings are waiting for your alignment. So rise with the fire of purpose. Walk with the authority of destiny. Speak with the confidence of someone who knows heaven backs them. Move with the faith of someone who understands. If God is for me, nothing can stop me. Step forward with the courage of this truth. You were born for this. You were built for this. You were anointed for this. You were chosen for this. And now you are ready for this. So stand tall, breathe deep, lift your hands, and declare with unshakable conviction, Lord, I am ready. Take me to my miracles, my breakthroughs, my overflow, my blessings, and my God-ordained destiny.